Long Night's been out for a bit now. How does it feel, in terms of reception and just the movie being out there?
I mean, we've gotten a lot of good feedback. It's like everything else. We've gotten some bad feedback too. People have their opinions. So I mean, but I'm happy with the movie. I mean, it was this thing that it wasn't a movie I set out to make. I came in to sort of save it in a way in that like the previous filmmakers had been fired and there's a crew that had been sitting around waiting to work for about a month. So it was just like I showed up and, we tried to redesign it on the fly and rework some of the script elements. And, I mean, there's a lot of great stuff in it, I think. So I'm very happy with it.
Well, for me, I loved it. It's, probably my favorite horror movie of the year so far. Granted, it's only February.
I'll take it though, man. I'll take it. No, yeah. I mean, I really had fun making it. It's a lot of fun, So I'm glad you dug it though.
And I was wondering like how you go about like achieving like the sort of production value you guys had despite everything, because like I was like kind of taken back by how good like some of the cinematography was and opening parts of the film, and it felt like a bigger studio movie than what it probably was.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had very little resources by the time I came on, which is, I'm not complaining. It just was the reality of the situation. But, I've done a lot of music videos and stuff. So I've kind of learned on the job sort of how to maximize your like production value. And, the DP I work with is really talented. And so, but, we're shooting basically in a house and there's some woods and stuff. And so like, when I got there, I just sort of walked through everything, and the script that at least that I think a lot of people have been trying to kind of work on the script in between the different directors, like producers and kids on the set or whatever. They handed me like 3 different versions when I got there. So, but I felt like there were a lot of things we could do to sort of open the movie up and sort of like really maximize the scope, And so, that was my first, challenge. I felt like was kind of going through this whole house and the property, and there's like an old cemetery and stuff. I was like, we got to use all this stuff. It's it's like don't waste anything.
And that brings me to my other favorite part about the movie is the atmosphere you guys created, and the tone of it all is really palpable. And I love when a movie's in like an isolated location that has like a constant feeling of like the walls closing in on the characters, a sense of dread and doom and gloom. So how do you go about, really establishing that?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it is in the pacing, and kind of a double-edged sword, because there's a lot of people like the kind of slow burn buildup that like say the first half of this movie has, and I think a lot of horror fans just kind of want you to get right in there and start like chopping people up and stuff. So we definitely opted for the sort of slower build, and then hopefully just gains intensity as it goes. But a lot of that's in the edit, and of course the performances, like Scout is fantastic. So but you're just trying to kind of sculpt these things, because when you're done shooting, you have all this raw material and you have to kind of figure out, you have to come up with a strategy to put this together in a way that, has a build and has some intensity, And the music, of course, too, helps a lot.
Yeah. And for me, I prefer, that approach. I mean, sure, I can like, oh shit, hang the fan right away, die. But, I think if you take the time to build it, it makes it the culmination of it all count more when it does happen, and all of a sudden it's more memorable because of it.
Yeah,
and that's what the movie did for me.
Awesome, man. I'm glad you think so. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And when it comes to a Scout, I've ranted about her on Instagram. How much I'm a fan of hers. Do you know if she was involved early on, like before they brought you in, or was she?
No, actually. So there was another actress attached when there was a different director on board. And when I came on, that had all kind of gone away. Like everything had kind of fallen apart.
Right.
And I'd done a movie with Scout before this, so I knew her. I'm very friendly. And two of the producers on this actually had worked on that movie too. That's how why they contacted me, was we'd worked together before. And so I had a very short window to prepare this, like way less time than I would normally have on a movie. So they were like, why don't we just get Scout? I mean, she's great and you know her, and it just made perfect sense. And so I called Scout. She was actually in England at a horror con. Yeah. I was like, hey, you want to come to South Carolina and make them? She flew straight from England to set,
Wow.
So it was pretty great. I love her to death. She's one of my favorite people.
I mean, I loved her in the Halloween movies and everything like that. There's another movie she called Feral that I loved. I had my issues with Ghost House, but I still enjoyed that. I've honestly have warmed up to it more than what I previously said.
We tried to make something kind of big, but it was much more, I think, sort of commercial. We were trying to sort of self-consciously be more commercial with that film than I was less concerned on this one. It was like, I just wanted to do cool stuff. And, we didn't have a lot of resources. So I was like, I'm just going to try a bunch of cool stuff,
Yeah.
So.
And her character, Grace, I mean, it could have easily just been like a home invasion story. And those have been done about 1,000,001 times at this point. So was there like a version of it that was more simple like that, or was it always meant to like evolve into something more kind of supernatural and sinister?
Well, the script that, and like, I can't say like what the original director's script was, because I never saw it, and he's a good guy, and I assume it was probably pretty good, but I never got my hands on that. I only got these kind of Frankenstein versions that different people have messed with. And but the version I had some supernatural elements in it, but they didn't like lean into it. And like, for example, like there was a scene in it where, like in the film, it's like Scout passes out sort of on the living room floor, and then they kind of manipulate her and she sort of walks out. And the way I pictured reading it, it almost sounded like, Plan 9 from Outer Space, kind of like, like a vampire will walk out onto the front porch and stuff, and they're like manipulating her. And I was like, now let's do something cooler. Let's like levitate her, give, do some really like kind of give these guys, if they're going to have powers, let's like give them powers, so.
Yeah.
So it was always in there a little bit, but I think we just kind of, it's like, if we're going to do it, let's just like, because, and the hope was that it would start off, you think it's kind of this home invasion thing, and then it sort of slowly becomes something else.
Well, there's that pacing we talked about again.
Yeah.
I seen that behind the scenes shot of, her levitation.
Oh yeah.
Outside the house. Was that her actually up on that?
Yeah. No. She did all her stunts in this movie. So that's the thing, is like, Scout's such a sweetheart. I don't know if you've met her at any of the cons or anything, but she's so nice, but she's really tough. I mean, she's like, she's a badass. And so that was the other thing, was like, I felt like we haven't got to see her be a badass in a movie that, up at least to the level where she can go, so.
Yeah. It's funny, like I got into her work probably a few years ago, and it was at a con just before I got into her work was when I was at one she was at. So ironically, I didn't meet her at that point, because then ironically a few months later is when it happened for me.
Nice.
But I did go to a panel with her and Danielle Harris, and she seemed amazing, and those two are really close.
Yeah, very close. I mean, they do their naughty podcast together.
Yeah. I loved it. I'm a patron.
Oh yeah, they're great, man. They're so cool.
Yeah. But yeah, is there like any possibility for like a sequel or part 2 you envision, or is it kind of meant to be like an ominous, ending one-off?
Well, when we made it, it was definitely, we were just trying to get through it. So it wasn't like, this thing we were trying to think about franchising.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, if enough people like it and enough people watch it and buy it and or whatever, you know, then I'm sure the door is open to that. I mean, like we definitely left it open ended, but in kind of on purpose. I mean, I've always liked movies that have those kind of open-ended endings, like very 70s, or you know, like or even like you know, The End of the Thing by John Carpenter. Just
Yeah.
you don't, you know, they don't take you right to the end. They let you like wonder what the hell's going to happen. You know, I've always liked that feeling, and you know, it's probably maybe not the most popular choice, but fuck it, you know, I thought, you know, I like it. So
I mean, I kind of applaud when movies go for a little bit more ballsier like that, whether the killer wins or it's left with a little bit more unsavory for a, you know, an average viewer. Like random references like Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. You know, Leatherface just chainsaws her through the seat and he walks down the road at the end of the movie.
Yeah. You can't go wrong. I mean, those are the classics, man. You know, so
yeah. And you know, from your director perspective, I was also really curious, just you've been around a while.
Yeah.
You know, in various, you know, departments for films and music videos, like you said, like what's it like getting a movie made nowadays compared to like 2 decades ago? And you could also talk about like the stress you might have dealt with on set being brought in so late in the game.
Well, this was definitely a very stressful job, although it was fun. You know, the cool thing was that, you know, like by the time I came on board, like I said, there were very few resources left. So we had to kind of redesign all the production design. We redesigned the creatures, like the masks that had been left over from other versions where I hated them. And so, and we put it all together in less than 2 weeks, just the sort of redesign of everything. And there was a writer in LA who was rewriting the script as we were shooting, you know, so it was very, very stressful. And, you know, we were trying to cast, say, like what would be Jeff Fahey's part and Deborah Kara Unger's part as we're going. And so we kind of have to work our schedule around the fact that like, we don't have these actors in yet and all, you know, so it was weird and it was crazy. I've never done anything like it. It was sort of like a controlled chaos, but at the same time, it was a lot of fun. And as far as like making movies now versus a while ago, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if you're making an independent film, it's just never going to be easy. You know, there are things you can do. Like when we made Ghost House, it was like insane because we had a very low budget, but we were shooting in a foreign country, and you know, we had what they call like a company move almost every day, which is like, if you make a low budget movie, you kind of do it like this one, where it's like you keep it all in one spot and you don't move around much, you know, except for within the space, you know.
Yeah.
And in Thailand, just like we'd shoot in a hospital one day, and you know, because everything is so much cheaper in Thailand, we could afford to do this, but we'd shoot in a hospital one day, but we could only have it for one day. So if I don't get everything, I'm screwed. I don't have a movie, you know, so it's like every single day I had to get everything. And so, you know, you have to end up making tons of compromises and, you know, fix a few things later, you know.
Gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
Yeah, but the point is that I don't know if it's easier or harder now. I mean, there are things that are definitely easier now because of the technology, but they're, you know, you know, at the end of the day, it's like you're trying to make a good movie, and making a good movie is very, very hard. You know, making a great movie, you know, like one of the classics it's almost like lightning in a bottle. So especially when you're working with not much, you know.
I mean, it's not like you're an Avengers movie or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like I mean, there are movies that they spend, you know, millions of dollars on that don't turn out too well either, you know, so it's a hard business, man.
Hardest flops in history are the ones that don't even make their, you know, budget back, or half their budget, or a quarter of their budget. So
yeah. But you know, but it's also like such a fun job and such a cool job that it's just like it's worth all the stress, you know.
And, you know, the care and effort is evident. You know, it doesn't take doesn't have to take, $200 million to make a great film. It just takes the passion and drive, and you guys have that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time.
Mhm.
I mean, that was like the coolest part about making this movie was that because, like I said, everything was so tight that
Mhm.
it kind of fostered this like kind of family vibe on set, where everybody was just working hard and trying to help everybody else. And just, it was, even though it was stressful, it was a good time. Nobody was screaming at anybody. And,
Mhm.
so it helps when everybody kind of, and that's kind of your job as a director, is to kind of get everybody on the team pulling in the same direction.
Mhm.
So.
Mhm. And I also wanted to add Nolan, who played her boyfriend. He did, I think I got his name right, didn't I?
Yeah, Nolan. Yeah.
Okay, good. But he did a really good job at playing like he was obviously kind of self-centered douche, but then simultaneously likable at the same time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, he definitely, the idea was he's supposed to be this kind of East Coast rich kid, sort of elitist guy, and it's like the fish out of water thing. He has, he's in the South, and this is just like beyond being, attacked by a cult. It's just everything is foreign to him. But, we wanted to, we knew that he was going to come off a little douchey, so the idea is to kind of start at this point where they're fighting, and, but this actually kind of brings them together. And by the end, he's basically, sacrificing himself so she can get away.
Yeah.
So that he sort of earns our respect by the end of the film. And he's a very funny guy. Like a lot of the jokes that he makes in the film, he ad-libbed on set, like telling them that their hats look stupid and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
So we had a screening for the, like a sort of little premiere here in LA. And, it was the first time I had seen it with a big audience. And like a lot of people laughed at his jokes and stuff. So I felt like that we made the right decision there. So
good. And I have to ask about a Blu-ray or physical release.
They just announced it yesterday. It's coming out on Blu-ray.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think April 4th is the date. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, I missed that.
I'll send you the link.
Okay, great. Because you've seen a shelf behind me.
Yes, yeah.
And that's just my horror section.
I know. Well, I hadn't said anything yet, but you're of the tribe, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we have a bunch of extra features and stuff on the disc too. It's like, it's juicy, so it'll be cool.
Great. That's awesome. And then there's one other thing in your IMDb credits I was curious about, that I noticed. You apparently worked on King of Queens.
I did.
That's my favorite sitcom of all time.
Hey, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So early in my career, I started as a composer, and I did a lot of sitcoms, and probably 2 or 3 that I was the main composer on. The biggest ones were probably like According to Jim and King of Queens. And then I like I worked in a shop, so there were a number of us, and so you would contribute music to other shows, but those were my shows. I did a bunch of them, but most of, it's like most TV shows, especially back then, they just like, they didn't last long,
Yeah. Well, is there any other projects you already have in the works with Scout or otherwise, or any ideas? Any ideas or just anything you want to bring up?
Oh yeah. Well, I have a stack of scripts that I've been trying to write more. So we've got some projects we want to get going. And, we haven't really got to who we're going to cast yet. I'd love to use Scout again on anything. I mean, she's great. And actually, I mean, she has a project that she wants to direct this year. I read the script for her the other day and gave her some notes. So it's, so I'm excited to see how that goes, And, we just finished a music video. It'll be coming out in a couple of weeks or maybe a month, depends on when the label drops it. So, and it was actually, it's like a vampire theme thing. So it's kind of fun. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff kind of coming up that's sort of pending. I was just talking to one of the producers of The Long Night, and he has a script that he thinks he can get funded. And so, I might do that one. It's just, I'm just kind of waiting to see how things go.
All right. Well, I'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you watching the film,
And I'll pre-order the Blu-ray if I can.
Oh yeah, I'll send you the link, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's also got a short film that's unrelated to The Long Night on it. That's a lot of fun. But we put it on there because it has most of the same crew and a couple of the actors.
Nice. Well, thank you again for doing this. This was really generous of you.
No, it's I'm sorry I got a little mixed up with the time.
No, it's not. It's fine. It's fine.
And,
all right. Well, I don't want to hold you up all day.
All right, great, man. Well, keep me posted on your stuff too.
Yeah.
And, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.